How's everybody doing? Jump on in, jump on in. Jump in, everybody, jump in. We're going to get this going. Early night tonight. Won't take long. Do a little talking, and we'll go from there. All right, jumping in the room. We'll give it about a minute or two. Let people jump in. It's good to see everybody. You guys, make sure you chat with each other. Catch up with each other. Glad to see everybody jumping in right now. Glad to see you coming in. Jailhouse Mama, good to see you. Another moment, we'll get started here, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to see you all jumping in tonight. Tonight's topic, we're going to talk about my experience. Let you guys know what I bring to the table this year. Man, it's good to see all you guys jumping in. Fantastic. Hope everybody had a really, really good weekend. Hopefully your Monday wasn't too bad starting out. Good to see you jumping on. Outstanding. Trooper Ludlam, good to see you, big man. Glad to see you. All right, all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and get started. What I want to do tonight is I want to talk to you about my experience. Go ahead and get that out there for you. Again, I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Good start to a week. Obviously, it's a little bit chilly. That's interesting, but I moved here from Charlotte, North Carolina, grew up in Charlotte, graduated high school in Charlotte, and Charlotte kind of set the pace for me on why I got into law enforcement. I'll give you two stories that led me towards a law enforcement career. I had a pretty tough childhood, tough friends. We were five boys in an Italian household growing up in Charlotte, so you can imagine the things that happened in our household. But there was a time in Charlotte where I remember I was 15, I believe, at the time, and I was in a Burger King, and a gentleman tried to mug me. He put a gun to my head in the Burger King, tried to rob me. I didn't have anything on me. And anyway, the cops came up there, and that was my first negative experience with the police. Well, the police officers came in there, and they pretty much turned it into I was buying drugs. I didn't belong in that Burger King. You name the excuse, but it was always something. So that was like my opening to being mistreated by police. And at that time, Charlotte was known for the good old boy system. It was known for police these people, not these people. So then there was another event in Charlotte when I was about to graduate high school. I was 17 years old, getting ready to be 18, and my grandmother had fallen and broken her wrist, and I had moved into her apartment with her. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, but that's what we could afford. And I had been staying with her for a couple of weeks to take care of her, and I remember one night I went to go run an errand. Well, when I got back to the apartment complex, a gentleman tried to steal my car. He ended up smacking me in the face with a pistol. I still have the scar right on my face. And again, I called the police out there to help me. And when the police came, I was buying drugs. I was in the wrong neighborhood. They didn't even care to ask me why I was there. And I had the key in my pocket to where my grandmother lived, right out in front of her place is where this happened. So again, that was another negative experience. So I had made the decision at that time that I wanted to be a law enforcement officer. and I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to treat people right, treat people fair, treat people equally. So that's how it all came about. So I graduated high school, and Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department started a police cadet program. So I applied. It was the first time they were doing it, and out of several hundred candidates, I was one of 12 people selected. So I went through a long 2-month training program, and I became a police cadet under the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. And I did this for several months. If I remember, it was about 7 or 8 months. And then I made the decision to move to Wilmington to come to college. So I moved to the Wilmington area, and I got on with the Wilmington Police Department as a police cadet, working in their program, partnering with officers, working at the front desk, and I started my journey in college. So I went to Cape Fear Community College here locally, and I graduated with my associate's degree. Well, once I got my associate's degree, I had to make a decision what I wanted to do. I had been in talks with a Marine recruiter, and I wanted to go in the Marine Corps. But at that time, there wasn't very good benefits and pay. Well, a recruiter came to me because I was working for the Wilmington Police as a cadet and offered me a police officer position. So I thought, well, man, if you compare the pay, this is the way to go. So I ended up taking a job with the Wilmington Police Department. And I had already served now a year and a half, 2 years as a cadet, you know, as a student, learning in college, doing my thing. So I get on with the Wilmington Police Department, and so begins my career as a police officer. Well, with the Wilmington Police Department, obviously there, because of what they do, they don't have a jail or a civil division or court division. You go straight out to the street. So I started my career as a young officer on the street, and I enjoyed it. I was immediately recognized for the accomplishments that I was receiving at such a young age, because I started in the academy at 20 years old. When I graduated the academy, I was 21, so I was on the street young at 21 years old. And I immediately got selected for a street-level drug corner unit, a very proactive unit working street-level drug crimes on the street. And I worked that for a long time, and again, I got noticed for my accomplishments and my hard work. I was selected and put on the recruitment team, so they would send me out to help hire people and bring them to Wilmington Police Department. And then they offered me a position on the PAT team. That stood for the Problem Area Tactical Team. That was the most sought-after position in the Wilmington Police Department. That's where I spent over 2 years with the Wilmington Police, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic position. While in that position, I also participated in a housing program. That housing program, I had to live in a lower-income community area that needed help. Those of you guys that are law enforcement have been around a while, you're familiar with the bottom. I moved into the bottom, 11th and Orange area, and I stayed there over 2 years, and I partnered with some churches, I partnered with some other community groups, and I helped work in that area, tearing down abandoned houses and all other sorts of resources. And it was one of the best things I did in my life. I was in my early 20s. I had everything ahead of me, and it just felt so good to help people and do more than just put on a uniform. So then the decision came about let's go further in school. So I got back into school at UNCW and started working on my bachelor's degree. Eventually, Sid Causey with the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office offered me a position with the Sheriff's Office. Now, the Sheriff's Office has so many more opportunities and things you can do within, and it's a different type of career. You're still a police officer, but they have the civil division, the jail division, the court division, and so many other things you can do. So I ended up working for the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office under Sid Causey at that time. And that was one of the best things I ever did. I met some truly great people. I missed my friends with Wilmington, but I still saw them all the time. But I started my career then with the Sheriff's Office, which was fantastic. My career at the Sheriff's Office started in the civil unit. I would serve civil papers, I would serve child support papers, and I learned a whole lot about civil process. I remember they sent me to so many schools. It was hard to stay awake in those classes, but I did learn a lot about civil. I did work through civil, and it gave me some outstanding experience that I carry with me today. After a little while, obviously, they came to me and said, well, look, with your experience, your training, all the knowledge you had from working 3.5, 4 years with the city police, let's put you on the road. So I went to work patrol with the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office. I got me one of them brown cars from back in the day. Before they were black, if you've been around, we had the brown cars. They called them doo-doos. Yep, I had one. But anyway, I worked patrol for a while, and I really, really enjoyed it. And again, I was noticed for my accomplishments. I was still in my early 20s, and they came to me and asked me to be a corporal on a squad, which is an assistant supervisor, which is right under a sergeant. So I took the position, and it was fantastic. I started to learn and I started to understand supervisory things. I was sent to some supervisor schools, and that was my awakening to still being a police officer, but starting to be a supervisor, because it's a whole different realm. You're kind of in the middle there. So I ended up working as a corporal for a while, and eventually I got an opportunity to try out for the SWAT team, and that was fantastic. I met some of the best people working SWAT for New Hanover County Sheriff's Office. Now, being on the active SWAT team and being a corporal and being noticed for my accomplishments again, I was offered a full-time SWAT position. Now, in the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, that's the spot. Just like the Wilmington Police was the PAT team, in the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, the SWAT team, they call ERT for Emergency Response Team, that's the place to go. You had to be in tip-top shape. You had to be cream of the crop. We had a lieutenant at that time. You had to be top of the line, and he made sure of it, and I respect him for that. And I didn't understand it sometimes, but when I look back, you had to honor that. Very, very professional. So I ended up on the full-time SWAT team, and basically Monday through Friday, our goal was schools and school safety. That's what we did. We rode around the county in different sectors. If there was ever an issue in a school or a high-priority issue in the county, we had to handle it. There was a team of 5, 6 of us that were always on the road, ready to respond. When we weren't responding to school situations or other high-risk situations, we were training. We trained all the time. We do high-risk warrants. We do search warrants for the Vice and Narcotics Unit, for the Investigations Unit, and it was an outstanding position. So I had an opportunity to come up for advancement again, and I was noticed for accomplishments and how hard I'd work and my handwriting abilities, for great reports, being thorough and winning some good cases in court. So I was offered an opportunity to join the detective division. Outstanding decision, one of the best decisions I made. I learned so much working investigations, about writing search warrants, executing search warrants, participated in some fantastic investigations, anywhere from simple larceny of bicycles up to homicide cases. What a fantastic group of people I worked with in there, and I learned so much. I attended interview schools, suicide schools, all sorts of things. It was fantastic. Investigations was a great part of my career. So then I was offered an opportunity to join the joint New Hanover County WPD, Wilmington Police, gang unit as an investigator, still staying a detective. And that was a fantastic decision because I met some really, really fantastic people, went back to working with some city guys I already knew. I was able to use a lot of my experience from working in inner city areas and put all those things together, and I loved it. It was fantastic. So then the time came again where I had to make a decision. Do I or don't I move up in my career? Well, in the sheriff's office, if you want to move up, you take a test, you rank on your test, and then they select people for the promotion. The jail is typically where you go. So I had to make a decision, do I want to go to the jail? Well, yes, I did, and I wanted to take that step and move into more of a supervisory role. So I took a promotion as a sergeant, and I went to the New Hanover County Jail. And I'm going to tell you, I learned so much working in the detention facility. It is a whole nother beast separate from working on the road. It is the greatest responsibility for a sheriff under the Constitution for the state because you're responsible for all the inmates. But I went there, I worked in the back of the house for a while, and then I worked in the front of the house in intake procedures. That's a whole nother beast separate from the jail. Intake procedures, which is everybody coming in and out of the jail, making sure you don't release the wrong people, making sure you're holding the correct people, you're booking in the correct people. But it was great. I had some of the best people working with me. And I don't say for me. Anybody who's ever worked with me works with me. We're a team. It's not about working for me. If I say you work for me, I'm going back to the 70s and 80s and the good old policing. In 2018, we're a team. And we need to remember that. We get better results that way. So after working in jail for a little bit of time as a supervisor and in both areas and having a great time, again, I got noticed for my accomplishments and an opening came up on patrol, and I got to go back out on the road as a sergeant. What a wonderful time in my career. I really enjoyed working as a sergeant on patrol for the sheriff's office. I met some great people. I had a great time. And I'm going to tell you, I learned a lot as a supervisor in the jail. I learned a lot going through detectives and SWAT and all those other things I had done with the city, with the county. But as a road supervisor, my eyes really just got big, and I realized that, man, I'm responsible for all of these guys out here and their decisions and what they do. And as a supervisor, I have to make that decision. There were times where you'd have a vehicle chase, or you'd have a deadly force situation or use of force situation, and I might not have been everybody's friend, but I have at that time to look out for the community. I have to look out for the organization. I have to look out for civil liability, because it completely changes. In your law enforcement career, when you get to a certain level in certain positions, you have so much more to look after besides yourself. And I learned that working patrol with the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office as a sergeant. Eventually, I was asked to work with the city a little closer, and I got moved downtown Wilmington to help formulate and run the downtown task force. What a great opportunity. I worked with some fantastic people with the Wilmington Police Department, with the Sheriff's Office, and we built an amazing downtown joint unit. We had a lot of problems in the downtown area. We got bicycles, and a lot of community policing started to take place, and it was just amazing the results that we received working together. We had blue uniforms, we had brown uniforms coming together, teamwork. These were things that were never done in the past, and we were breaking those barriers, and under Sheriff McMahon, we were doing some fantastic things, and that's when I started to really learn how important it was to bring down walls and bring down barriers and work with your neighbors. Work with each other, take their resources and our resources, because together we do better for the community. So I really, really enjoyed working for the downtown task force. Time came up again. We were having some issues. There was the Sandy Hook situation, some other school issues that went on. And with all my tactical background and experience and leadership experience and the ability to work together with people, I was offered an opportunity to join one of the most amazing units, and that was the School Resource Officer Unit. I joined that unit, and again, it was another joint unit. Wilmington Police, New Hanover County Sheriffs, working together in the schools. We did some amazing things. We were able to, through grants and through working with the school board, get over 23 more people to come and join our unit. We had over 40 people. We had one of the best lieutenants I have ever worked for in my career. She was so open to ideas, and it wasn't a matter of this is what I want, this is what I want. It was what can we do as a team, and I learned some great things from that lieutenant. Fantastic. And those things I've carried over to me today and the way I led people. So working in the school unit was great for me. I learned a lot. I learned about dealing with the children, dealing with the schools, all those sorts of things. And I can't thank the Sheriff's Office enough for moving me to these different places to learn all these different things. I'll tell you, the school unit in New Hanover County, I am so excited to hopefully replicate that up here in Pender County one day, because the benefits are amazing. The teamwork between the administrators and the schools, just I can't go in depth. I will do a video in the future on how I feel about school and school safety, and I'll cover some more stuff, but great, great people. So then time came again where it was, hey, we got a problem over here. Who do we call? We call Joe. And I learned in my career, you go where you're asked to go. You serve your sheriff in the way he wants you to. Whether you agree or not, you say, yes, sir, you smile, you move on. Those of you from the military, you already know. Instead of complaining, put your pack on, do your march. When you're done, you can complain, but get the mission done. So we were having a lot of gang issues again and some housing issues in the city, and the leaders came together and said, we need another joint unit. Well, man, here we go. We had a joint task force, a joint gang unit, a joint school unit. Let's do a joint housing unit. So, yes, I went to the joint housing unit, and I loved it. I was the sergeant. I had deputies. I had city officers, and it was amazing. Fantastic. The teamwork between the two agencies kept going. The cooperation with the community was fantastic. And working for that joint housing unit, we started some great things, and we started building these bonds with people and showing them the arrest we were making for intent to sell and deliver drugs, and just the impact. We would get out of our cars, and people would shake our hands and hug us and thank us. And I can't tell you how many people cooked for us, and the camaraderie was just fantastic. Really learned a lot working that joint unit. So again, during this whole time now, I forgot to mention this, I was also the sergeant over the bike unit, which was part of the downtown task force, and I continued with that duty throughout all of this. And what was great about that, that's a community resource by putting a bicycle on the car. Not only did we save gas money, which was a big thing when gas was over $4 a gallon back then, but you can hear, see, smell things don't happen in the car, and you build a relationship with people when you're riding a bike around parks, around schools, and through communities. Very good tool that I hope to utilize one day in Pender County. So the time goes on, and I end up taking a test. I place pretty high again, and it's my turn now to move on to be a lieutenant. And that was another eye-awakener. So I took a position as a lieutenant in the courts. And another just amazing step for my career, another big learning curve for me, and I loved every minute of it. I learned so much working there with the district attorney's office, all the public defenders, the probation, the bailiffs, the security, such hard workers. And I'm in a new area, and I'm just absorbing it and taking it in, and I'm in there as a lieutenant, and man, it was fantastic. Learned some great things in there. Time went on, and I was offered to come back over to the jail as a lieutenant, and of course I said yes. I have learned throughout my career, don't say no, say yes. Learn as much as you can, because a sheriff's office has so many parts to it that people don't understand. So I went to the jail, and I ended up being a lieutenant in the jail for a while. And that was just great. I'm back in the jail. You've got 40+ people on a squad. Some nights you were up at 47, 48, depending on how busy we were. You got over 600 inmates you're responsible for. You got all your employees you're responsible for. Fantastic learning for me. I loved every single minute of it. So as far as the sheriff's office goes, when I rounded out my career, we made a decision to get out of law enforcement. Before that happened, I had received some awards. So one award I received Officer of the Quarter when I was working in the school unit. Fantastic. Very happy to receive that plaque. When I was in detective division, I received the Detective of the Quarter. I had some really big cases, did some hard work, and you got recognized. It's a big thing to be recognized for your accomplishments and for what you do for your community. At one point in my career, I actually got Officer of the Year. This was back in 2007, and I was so honored, and I still, every time I think about it, I'm so happy about it. So I've got an Officer of the Year award. I've also been awarded my professional SRO certificate. It's over 400 hours of specific training through the Justice Academy. That's almost as much training as you get to become a police officer. Completely based around schools, school safety, school searches, dealing with children, things of that nature. Another great certificate I received. Through my years of law enforcement, I've obtained my basic, my intermediate, and my advanced certificate. Those certificates you get for having full-time law enforcement and for having so many hours of training. You have to have these things combined to obtain those certificates. Advanced is the highest you go. If an officer has their advanced certificate, they have put in what they need to put into the community. And these pieces of paper are not just pieces of paper. This is what we as law enforcement officers strive to get. So if somebody has those, they earned it. They worked for it. They met the state requirements. They had the time in the job, and they had the training points. Those are things to be proud of, and the sheriff's office there recognizes you for that, which again is it's just so great how they recognize people. And I'm looking to do that in Pender County one day, show people how much they are appreciated. Also now, let's look at another avenue. Through my career, I was awarded an opportunity to go to instructor school. Loved every minute of it. Graduated instructor school and started my teaching. Now, when you teach, there's two sides of the house, just like there is in law enforcement. You have your detention side of the house. You have your law enforcement side of the house. I have already graduated basic law enforcement. I've already graduated detention officer school. So I've got the certificates on both sides. So when I got my instructor certificate, I strived really hard, worked hard, and I got my instructor for both sides. This afforded me the opportunity to not only teach basic law enforcement to new people, but I taught detention officer school to new people. And I did this for a long time, and I enjoyed every minute. On the detention side, I also had the opportunity to get specialized in physical fitness for detention officers, which was fantastic. So I'm teaching jail school, I'm teaching all the new people, I'm teaching the in-service for all of our detention officers, and I'm also teaching them their physical fitness every year. Loved every minute of it. On the law enforcement side of the house, I got my general instructor, but I wanted to go further, and I worked hard to go further. I had my firearms instructor, so I was teaching firearms. I had my physical fitness to teach physical fitness to the guys out on the road, to all of the sworn law enforcement officers. I was teaching in service to the law enforcement officers. And then I said, you know what? I need to do a little more. So I got my active shooter certificate, and I taught active shooter to hundreds of police officers in this area for the city, the county, and many other agencies. Active shooter was one of my passions. I enjoyed teaching that so very much. So with that said, I also was teaching bike school. I went to a federal program and got certified under APIMBA, which is your International Police Mountain Bike Association. Graduated that course, and I taught police mountain biking to all your beach communities here in this area. I taught it to our downtown unit, taught a lot of it to the sheriff's office. So again, throughout my career in law enforcement, I worked both sides of the house, detention and law enforcement. I've taught on both sides of the house, detention and law enforcement. I have supervised on both sides of the house, detention and law enforcement. I have signed timesheets in detention and in law enforcement, not just my own. I've had the opportunity, and I was so blessed by the sheriff's office in giving me those opportunities to learn so much about people and so much about myself. Now, since I've been out of law enforcement and taking care of my children, I've done some other great things. I worked for community and schools up here in Pender County, and that was an amazing position. I worked with some children who had some challenges, and we did some after-school programs, we did some summer programs, and I met some of the best children and got some of the best relationships with these children and working in the schools, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I was able to attend a commercial driver's license program at Cape Fear Community College. I did that for 2 months. I graduated the top of the class. I received the President's Award for the class for leadership and for having the highest GPA in the class of 20 students. It was another great accomplishment I'm proud of. I run a business. It's a small construction business, but it's fantastic. I've had up to 8 employees at a time. I'm down to 4 employees right now, but it fluctuates with the work. But it's just great. Things have been so good. So now, when you get back into my career, I have an associate's degree in criminal justice. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, been law enforcement, been a supervisor, done all these great things. So the question gets asked, well, why did you move around so much? Moving around in law enforcement is important. That's how you get experience. That's how you grow. That's how you become a better person. That's how you work your way up. Some of the great people out there who are in the top commands in these bigger agencies, they work their way around because you have to have an understanding of all these different entities. It's not about understanding one niche. It's about understanding everything. And you have to do that. And that's why I'm so passionate about Pender County Sheriff's Office. It's a blank slate. We have 7 candidates running. I do not knock or discredit any of the other candidates. I think they're all great people and they've done great things for our community. But I'm looking for someone who can hit the ground running day one. On December 3rd, when they're sworn in, I want them to have the knowledge of all the different areas of the sheriff's office so they don't have to ask questions. They don't have to get asked a question and say, I don't know, I got to find out. I want someone who's already been there and done it. I want someone who's done the job. I've done the job. I want someone who's supervised it. I've supervised it. I want someone who's taught it. I've taught it. Worked it, supervised it, taught it. It's plain and simple. That's why I applied for that position. I have a wife and 3 small children. We're not leaving this community. We're here to stay. Since we've been out in the community the last several years, I sit on 3 community boards. Those are voluntary boards that I serve this community. I've been questioned on what I do. What have you done before this election? Well, I'll tell you what I've done. I've served your community for free, voluntarily, repeatedly. I sit on the Cape Fear Fair and Board Expo. I represent you for your fair that we have every year. I sit on the TDA board, your Tourism Development Authority board. I do that for you, for this community to give back. I sit on the JCPC committee, your Juvenile Crime Prevention Committee, to give back to my community. And I've been on these 3 committees for years, okay? I joined Tourism Development last year, and it's been fantastic. These are the things that I do to give back to the community, on top of everything else that I've done. So when someone comes to you and says, I've done this and this and this, well, what have you done? What have you done for your community? What have you done to give back? What have you done in law enforcement? So when you're out there questioning candidates, do not discredit them. They've all worked hard. They've all earned the position they're in. But you do need to question, what is your experience? What have you done? You say you've been a supervisor. Show me where you've been a supervisor in law enforcement. Show me that you have the experience to go out here and lead the 129 deputies who are struggling, who don't want to come to work every day in Pender County. Show me that you're going to change that. Show me that you're going to build the bridges between the east and the west side of Pender County. Show me that you're going to build the bridges between the Latinos, the blacks, and the whites. And you're going to do more than be a good old boy and sit at that desk. I'm tired of the good old boy system. That's why we're running. That's why I'm funding my campaign. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So stop spreading rumors. Stop spreading lies. We have the experience. We have the knowledge. We have the drive. We have the passion. We're running for sheriff. We are not walking away. My wife is on this boat with me. She's loving every minute of it. My children are loving every minute of it. We are here. All these issues that you guys want to talk about, we're going to talk about them because we're going to take the sheriff's office and we're going to open that door. We're going to leave it open. We're going to build all sorts of community stuff. I promise you. Yes, we are going to have a gang task force with our surrounding counties. We are going to build some of the best task force, I assure you. I have talked to Sheriff McMahon. I have talked to Sheriff Miller. We are going to do things, traffic unit, interdiction units. And don't tell me we don't have the money. That's not true. We got what we need. We got resources. We have people in this community that want to give to us, and we are going to take that and accept it and work with them. We're going to have a veterans on patrol. We're going to have a citizens academy. We're going to do so many things. People are going to be blown away. I feel like Donald Trump in this election. I get attacked every time I turn around by false things. I have the experience. I have the passion, the desire, and we're going for it. We're not going to walk away. We're not. So stop. Just stop. Show me where you have signed a timesheet in law enforcement other than your own. And when you can do that, then I'll see if you're qualified to run this county. But until then, we can hit the ground day one, Pender County. I promise you. And we will hit it. And I will be standing in the living room of so many people's houses, kicking them out of this county. And they can take their drugs and be gone because we're not going to tolerate it anymore. We're going to do things in our jail to help rehabilitate and get people back on track. Enough with just arresting everybody. Enough turning our heads and not doing our job. Enough telling our community that we can't do anything about that. Yes, you can, and we will. Because I'll have an open door policy, and if you have a problem, you come see me, and I'll come to your house and take care of it. Because I'm going to wear a uniform every day, and I'm going to drive a car that says sheriff on the side because you're electing me. I'm going to be your elected official. Those are the things we're going to do. I hope everybody has a great night. Share this video with everyone. I don't have unlimited funding because of my parents to go out there and hire marketing directors and hire political campaign managers. But I don't need it because I speak truth, because I speak passion, because I'm going to do what's needed in our county to make us strong again. And that's for everybody. Nobody will be left out. If you need help, we're going to get you help. Burnsville County Anchor Program. New Hanover County has a drill program that helps you get job placement on your way out because it's about building bridges and working together. And that's what we're going to do. And all you elderly out there who are confused and don't understand what's going on today, we're going to help you with that too. Okay? We got programs that we are trying to implement, and we're going to implement them. Because on December 3rd, when you vote us in November and we get sworn in, we hit the door running day one. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Share the video. We're on YouTube. We got plenty on our page. Get people to like us. We're going to keep going for it, and we're going to get louder and louder as the time comes, I promise. I love every one of you. My wife does. My kids do. They'd be up here, but unfortunately, they're getting their books read to them at bedtime downstairs. Have a great night. I'll come back and answer questions on the typing area in a little bit. Thank you.